Evelyn is performing her daily duties in the hospital, preparing vaccines for the day. The scene is long and quiet, with only the sound of the sterilizing equipment in the background. As she opens the storage unit, her eyes fall upon the temperature gauge. It's several degrees higher than it should be. A sense of dread slowly creeps over her face as she inspects the vaccines. Time stretches as Evelyn carefully examines each vial, and the horrifying realization sets in. The vaccines have been compromised. Evelyn sits alone in a small break room, her mind racing. The scene focuses on her hands, trembling as she holds a cup of coffee, her face drained of color. The camera lingers on the clock ticking in the background, emphasizing the tension as she contemplates what this discovery means. Her heart pounds, and she fights to hold back the overwhelming fear building inside her. Should she report the spoiled vaccines? What would happen if she didn't? The hospital's vaccination program is in full swing. Patients, old and young, wait in line for their shots, unaware of what Evelyn has discovered. The scene lingers on the waiting room, filled with anticipation. Evelyn stands in the hallway, frozen as she watches a nurse administer one of the possibly compromised vaccines. Her breath catches in her throat, and she knows she must act fast, but still, she hesitates. Evelyn approaches Dr. Sarah, the head physician in charge of the vaccine distribution, but she is paralyzed with fear. The scene is thick with unspoken tension. Sarah notices something off in Evelyn's demeanor, asking if everything is okay. Evelyn forces a smile, murmuring that everything is fine. As she walks away, the weight of her decision pulls her down, the camera lingering on her faltering steps, closing the door behind her, shutting away the truth for now. Days pass, and Evelyn becomes more withdrawn. At lunch, her colleagues chat and laugh, oblivious to the burden she carries. The scene focuses on Evelyn, isolated in her own world, barely listening as guilt gnaws at her. Every time a patient thanks her for their vaccine, the words feel like a knife twisting in her heart. Her guilt is a silent presence, growing heavier with each passing day. Evelyn's sleepless nights are spent staring at the ceiling, haunted by the vaccines in storage. The scene focuses on her tossing and turning, every creak in the house amplifying her anxiety. Her mind replays the moment she discovered the spoiled batch, over and over again, but still, she can't bring herself to reveal the truth. Determined to correct her mistake, Evelyn returns to the hospital, ready to confess. The scene is long and drawn out as she approaches Sarah's office. She knocks but hesitates as Sarah, busy and overwhelmed, barely looks up from her paperwork. Evelyn mumbles something about needing to talk, but Sarah brushes her off. Defeated, Evelyn walks away, her chance slipping through her fingers. The scene shifts to a family of four leaving the hospital, having just been vaccinated. Evelyn watches them through the window, her heart sinking. Later, she hears that one of the patients has developed a fever. The camera lingers on her face as she begins to panic. Could it be the spoiled vaccine? She tries to brush off the thought, but can't shake the unease growing inside her. Evelyn sits across from Dr. Sarah in a dimly lit office. The tension is thick in the air as Evelyn confesses the truth about the spoiled vaccines. Sarah is stunned, the shock playing on her face. The scene is long and agonizing as Sarah processes what Evelyn has told her. There's a pause before Sarah speaks, her voice cold and controlled. "You should have come to me sooner." The hospital is thrown into chaos as the news spreads. Doctors, nurses, and staff scramble to contain the situation. Patients who received the spoiled vaccines are being recalled for tests. The scene shows Evelyn walking through the hospital, her colleagues avoiding her gaze, the guilt weighing on her like a heavy fog. She feels the crushing reality of what she's done as she watches the chaos unfold. Outside the hospital, reporters gather, demanding answers. The scene focuses on the hospital's entrance, cameras flashing, microphones thrust forward as Sarah addresses the media. Evelyn watches from a distance, her face pale as the media storm rages on. The weight of the public's reaction is almost unbearable. She's never felt more alone. Patients who received the spoiled vaccines begin to return to the hospital, some of them sick, others frightened. The scene lingers on a long line of anxious faces, and Evelyn stands behind the reception desk. Her heart breaks as she watches a mother holding her feverish child. This is the real cost of her silence. One of the patients, a young woman, confronts Evelyn directly. The woman's anger is palpable. The woman demands to know why this happened. Evelyn tries to explain, but the woman isn't interested in excuses. The confrontation is raw and emotional, and Evelyn is left shaken, her guilt now public and personal. The hospital launches an internal investigation, and Evelyn is summoned to speak with the board. The scene is tense as Evelyn sits before the panel of stern-faced administrators. She recounts her decision to remain silent, each word feeling like a knife twisting in her gut. The board is harsh but fair. Evelyn's future at the hospital is uncertain. Evelyn retreats to her apartment, her face pale and drawn. The scene is long and filled with silence as she sinks into her couch, staring at nothing. The weight of her mistake feels unbearable. She's lost her colleagues' respect, the trust of her patients, and possibly her career. For the first time, she wonders if she'll ever be able to forgive herself. Dr. Sarah pays Evelyn an unexpected visit at home. The two women sit in silence for a long moment before Sarah speaks. "You made a mistake," she says. "A huge one, but you came forward eventually. That counts for something." Evelyn returns to the hospital to hear the board's decision. The scene is long and suspenseful as the administrators deliberate behind closed doors. Evelyn waits outside, her heart pounding in her chest. Finally, she's called in. The board delivers its verdict. Evelyn will be allowed to keep her job, but her actions will be documented, and she will be under strict supervision for the foreseeable future.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more fun songs as well as interesting and enjoyable stories.